Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I've been lied to for 3 days, and probably y'all too as well. Even Fox News has been carrying the lie. Maybe they didn't know the truth either, but it seems like the truth is finally coming out, and we will hear quite a bit about it from Stephen Miller, Trump, Pam Bondi, and several people are discussing this lone illegal alien that got sent on a plane out of this country, and the Democrats want him back, even though he is. Uh, Still MS-13 affiliated and illegal, and already shipped out of this country and in another country. And then the Supreme Court had to come in and rule on it, and ruled in favor of the situation where he's not coming back. And the way the Democrats have spun this thing, they're making it out to be, well, they're just putting the whole spin doctor on the thing. And today we finally get the full story without the lies and the bullshit and the spill of the narrative that just wasn't making any sense to me. I couldn't make heads or tails of it. There's just been too many different details that have emerged, but now I think we got the truth finally. And they discuss it today, Trump and Bukele as well. And I won't spoil it for you, but I'll tell you what Bukele, or I'll stick around, you'll see what Bukele says about this whole situation with this one particular migrant. Here we go. Stephen Miller interview on Fox.
Correct you on every single thing that you said, because it was all wrong. First, we want
or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said, because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case. Clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So we appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else.
The news has been saying that we have to bring him back.
The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not, no, Bill, it's important. He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's
believe
an illegal
he is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador. Hold on, this is important. In 2019, he was ordered deported. He has a final removal order from the United States. These are things that no one disputes. Where is he from? El Salvador. Where is he a resident and citizen of? El Salvador. Is he here illegally? Yes. Does he have a deportation order? Yes. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. Now, some have said, well, but he had a thing called a withholding order. So a withholding order means you've been ordered deported, but an immigration judge is saying you cannot go back to a particular country. Here's the thing. If you are a member of a foreign terrorist organization, you cannot have a withholding order. Since he's in MS-13, there is no withholding order. Furthermore, the gang that he is accused of being persecuted by doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. The 18th Street gang is gone. So you have an illegal alien from El Salvador. Bill, where are we supposed to send the illegal alien from El Salvador?
You haven't even allowed me to ask you a question. Are you convinced he is still a member of MS-13? That was your original charge.
Yes. But here's the thing, Bill. Yes, but here, not only am I convinced of it, not only is El Salvador convinced of it, Bill, he's an illegal alien from El Salvador with the deportation order. So his only options in life, Bill, his only options in life are to be deported to El Salvador or to be deported to some other country. That's it. He has a deportation order. So, Bill, you tell me, what country should we deport him to? Tell me, please. Tell me.
So Marco Rubio on Sunday morning said this. On Saturday night, another 10 criminals from MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, foreign terrorist organizations, arrived in El Salvador. The alliance between the president and president of El Salvador has become an example for security and prosperity in our hemisphere. So I don't know if this comes up today. I imagine it will. Is Gitmo still open? Are there any illegal immigrants who have been taken to Guantanamo Bay today, or has that prison been closed?
Oh yeah, it's not closed. All right, folks, we'll get into some other things that are going on as well involving Stephen Miller. And I thought this was a great piece of information. Stephen Miller is like Ken Paxton and a couple other attorney generals. He is really good at suing the crap out of anybody that doesn't play fair. And so what they do is they file lawsuits against states, counties, cities, any kind of jurisdiction, anybody they can to stop any kind of heinous act. There's a lot of places like Judicial Watch is another one that'll do that. File lawsuits, cause them to slow down, stop, bring forth an injunction. A lot of things can be done. And what has happened is Stephen Miller has filed so many dang lawsuits that in Arizona, he's got some wins. Says following the lawsuit, all Arizona counties are now collaborating with the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, I believe that's the one, to confirm the citizenship status of registered voters who did not provide proof of citizenship. So if you're a registered voter and you never showed an ID or proven that you are a citizen, you're fixing to have to handle it. You're fixing to have to do it. They're fixing to get some verification or some people kicked off the voter rolls.
Democrats want illegal aliens to vote. It's why Joe Biden and his administration gave millions, we verified this now, millions with an M, of illegal aliens social security numbers. And once you have a social security number, it is incredibly easy to vote, to collect welfare, to get free government benefits, to participate in every aspect of American life. This isn't a mystery. They want illegals to steal elections, Sean. Democrats want illegal aliens to vote. It's why Joe Biden and his administration gave millions, we verified this now, millions with an M, of illegal aliens social security numbers. And once you have a social security number, it is incredibly easy to vote, to collect welfare, to get free government benefits, to participate in every aspect of American life. This isn't a mystery. They want illegals to steal elections, Sean. Democrats want illegal aliens to vote. It's why Joe Biden and his administration gave millions, we verified this now, millions with an M, of illegal aliens social security numbers. And once you have a social security number, it is incredibly easy to vote.
I put this on the loop for a reason. Once you get a social security number, you're in like Flynn. It's easy. You can get the rest of it at that point. You can say, I lost my ID and my name's Paco. My name is Juan Valdez. They'll let you in. Hook you right up. Now, this entire press conference this entire meeting was really awesome. I listened to a good part of it, almost the entire thing. Several people chimed in. But Caitlin Collins, I believe that's her name, the CNN reporter, MSNBC, I don't know which one of those entities, reporter, crazy lady, always trying to pick a fight with Trump, could not keep her mouth down today, and so she asked the crappy kind of questions about people like this guy that was deported to El Salvador, and watch how Trump handles it. He handles it beautifully. I think this is actually awesome.
It's probably just a whack job, and certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen.
Is your good relation with President Bukele the best guarantee that this time you won't terminate the temporary protected status?
I have a great relationship with this man. I have the best relationship with him. We've known each other. I've known him since he was a very young man, as I said, very, very young, and I was impressed. I said, look how this guy is. In fact, you sort of look like a teenager. You look like a teenager. I said, what kind of a country is this? He grew up well in the last 5 years.
Do you support an extension for nationals of El Salvador under temporary protected status?
Do you plan to ask him?
Let's hear the question from this very low-rated anchor at CB.
Thank you, President Trump. Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him, President Bukele?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you.
¿Usted estaría dispuesto
Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, you know, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So,
Chris Miller.
It's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask for
Supreme
anything
Court is
to get
asking
him back?
to.
And
that-
what was the ruling
that-
in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Usted lo
President
liberaría,
Bukele,
Presidente
what is
Bukele?
can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how
CNN.
can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. I mean, we just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go
Good
back
job.
to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
I mean,
country.
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Mark, do you have something to say about
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Island, I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President, no, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much. How many
He just destroyed Caitlin Clark. Almost said the F word. I try not to, folks. Been here on the podcast, and I try not to be no more profane than necessary, but that was funny. She wouldn't give up. She's like a badger. She does not quit. That was Caitlin Collins, I believe is her name, long brown. Her girl looks a little bit like Scott Pressler. She's something else. She's, like Trump said, she's a nasty woman. That's what he called her when they were having an interview once before. That's what I got for you today, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. Leave me some comments in the comment down below just to say hello. Tell me what state you're listening from. That's always neat. Over and out, folks. Have a good